I'm going to let you in on something that might unsettle you a little. Some of the sharpest minds you'll ever meet didn't get that way in a classroom. They didn't train it through textbooks or lectures. They built it the way scar tissue forms, slowly, quietly, under pressure. They became the kind of people who can read a room in seconds, predict outcomes before they happen, and feel when something is off long before anyone else notices. Not because they wanted to, but because at some point they had to. And no one called it intelligence. They called it anxiety. They called it sensitivity. They called it too much. So if you've ever felt like your brain works differently, like you're always scanning, always processing, always a few steps ahead in conversations you didn't ask to analyze this deeply, this might explain why. Because what you're about to hear isn't about being overreactive. It's about a different kind of intelligence that most people never learn to recognize. Sign 1. You read people with an accuracy that almost feels unfair. Not in a dramatic mind-reading way. It's quieter than that. Someone walks into a room, and before they've said a word, something in you already registers a shift, a micro-expression, a pause that's a fraction too long, a smile that doesn't reach their eyes. And you don't always know how you know. But you're usually right. What's happening here isn't magic. It's pattern recognition trained under pressure. When someone grows up in an emotionally unpredictable environment, the brain adapts by becoming hyper-aware of subtle changes. Psychologists call this hypervigilance. Originally, it's a survival mechanism, but over time, it becomes a skill. And the thing about survival skills is, they don't switch off just because the environment changes. So now, you carry that awareness everywhere. Into conversations, into relationships, into ordinary days that suddenly feel heavy for reasons no one else can explain. Sign 2. You understand things emotionally before you can explain them logically. You've felt a relationship shift before any conversation happened. You've known something was wrong before there was evidence. And when someone asks you to explain it, you can't. Not clearly anyway. You just know. This isn't irrational. It's neurological. Trauma research shows that emotional experiences are often stored in parts of the brain that don't rely on language. The body processes and remembers patterns long before the logical mind can label them. So your nervous system picks up on signals your conscious brain hasn't translated yet. You feel the answer first. The explanation comes later, if it comes at all. Sign 3. You're unusually comfortable with complexity and contradiction. Most people want clean answers, clear villains, clear resolutions. But you've seen enough to know that reality doesn't work like that. You understand that someone can love you and still hurt you. That good people can make harmful choices. That two opposite things can both be true at the same time. That's not cynicism. That's cognitive flexibility built early. When your environment forced you to make sense of complicated emotional dynamics, your brain adapted by holding multiple perspectives at once. Where others need certainty, you can tolerate ambiguity. And that's a rare mental skill. Sign 4. Your empathy can feel overwhelming. Not surface-level empathy, not just saying the right thing. You feel it. Someone else's pain doesn't stay external. It lands somewhere in your chest, your stomach, your body. Sometimes it's hard to tell where your emotions end and someone else's begin. This is known as emotional contagion, the brain's tendency to mirror emotional states. In people with heightened sensitivity, this system runs stronger, which means your greatest strength can also drain you. Because reading people deeply often means absorbing them too. And if you're not careful, you end up carrying emotions that were never yours to hold. Sign 5. You pull back right when things start going well. This one is harder to admit. You move toward something good, a relationship, an opportunity, stability, and then something shifts. You hesitate. You create distance. You find a reason to step away. Sometimes you leave before you can be left. This isn't random. It's your nervous system responding to what it learned early on. If calm was once followed by chaos, if safety didn't last, then stability can feel unfamiliar, and unfamiliar can feel unsafe. So your brain tries to protect you the only way it knows how, by disrupting it first. Sign 6. Your mind constantly searches for meaning, not casually, relentlessly. Why did they say that? Why did I react that way? Why does this situation feel familiar? You analyze your own thoughts the way most people analyze external problems. This level of introspection is often linked to what psychologists call post-traumatic growth, the deep cognitive changes that can follow difficult experiences. When your brain is forced to make sense of something overwhelming, it becomes exceptionally good at asking questions, even when there aren't clear answers. Sign 7. You're deeply self-aware, but that awareness doesn't always change your behavior. You can name your patterns, you can trace where they came from, you can explain them clearly, and then you watch yourself repeat them anyway. That gap is real and frustrating, because insight alone doesn't rewire the brain. Change happens through repeated, safe experiences, not just understanding. But here's what matters. The awareness isn't useless. It's the foundation. It means you're already seeing what most people never notice. And when you step back and look at all of this together, something important becomes clear. You're not overthinking. You're not too sensitive. You're not broken. You adapted. Your brain learned to process faster, deeper, and more carefully than most, because at some point, that was necessary. And now, those same patterns show up in everyday life, sometimes as strengths, sometimes as challenges. Both can be true. One last thing, understanding these patterns is one step. Actually changing how they show up in your life, that's a different process entirely. It takes time, it takes repetition. It takes new experiences that slowly teach your nervous system that it's safe to operate differently. But if any part of this felt uncomfortably accurate, then you're already further along than you think. Because most people never even realize their mind works this way. And you just did.